CPAs are known by their full title, Certified Public Accountants, and whether you're working in tax, auditing, or consulting, you'll need to meet specific requirements to be licensed and practice in the United States. Luckily, most states are willing to grant licenses to people who are educated in other countries if they meet the requirements. For most states, those requirements are a bachelor's degree or equivalent, passing the CPA exam, and 1 year of work experience in accounting. While the process may sometimes feel overwhelming, it's achievable with some effort. And after you become licensed, you won't need to settle for jobs outside your field. With your skills, you'll be able to make a great living as a CPA in the U.S. I'm Melissa Morsavati, Director of U.S. Language Services. For over 15 years, I've been active in the translation industry in various capacities. Since 2018, U.S. Language Services has provided translation services to thousands of clients spanning a wide variety of industries, from individuals to law firms to educational institutions to government agencies. Continuing with our series on licensed professions, in this video, we're going to explain the process of getting licensed as a foreign-trained CPA in the U.S. and guide you through all the steps. We'll also mention helpful websites, licensing boards, and other resources. But don't worry, we'll include all the links in the video description so you can easily find and access them. Let's get started. You might ask yourself if becoming a CPA in the United States is worth it. Accounting services are critical in nearly every field that earns revenue, which means CPAs will almost always be able to find employment. From nonprofits to major corporations, CPAs ensure businesses and organizations stay on top of taxes and keep accurate financial records. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the demand for accountants and auditors is projected to grow 6% from 2023 to 2033, faster than the average for most occupations. Thousands of CPA jobs are expected to open up every year, giving you plenty of career opportunities. More CPA jobs are expected to open up in the next decade, and there's already a noticeable shortage. According to the Wall Street Journal, the need for CPAs in the U.S. is so pressing that national groups like the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or AICPA, are working to streamline the licensing process. With organizations nationwide eager to hire CPAs, your chances of landing a job are higher than ever. When it comes to salary, being a CPA can be very lucrative. On average, CPAs in the United States can earn around $92,000 annually, according to Indeed.com. In California, for example, the average salary for a CPA is around $90,000, as reported by ZipRecruiter. The expected salary is even higher in New York, where CPAs can make an average of $100,000 annually, according to Indeed.com. As you advance in your career, there's potential for even higher earnings. Specializing in areas like tax or forensic accounting and moving into managerial or executive roles can also increase your earning potential. Now that you know about the opportunities and earning potential, let's look at the steps to get started as a CPA. To become a CPA, you need to know which licensing board will grant your CPA license. While a few national organizations, such as the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy, NASBA, and the AICPA, help oversee the work of CPAs in the U.S., your state's licensing board will award you your license. Each state has its own board that sets the requirements for becoming a licensed CPA, and it's essential to familiarize yourself with the specific regulations in the state where you plan to practice. For example, in California, you'll be licensed by the California Board of Accountancy, while in New York, the New York State Education Department handles licensing. To make your search easier, the NASBA has assembled a directory to help people find the licensing board for each state. We'll also share contact information for licensing boards in states like California, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Texas. These 7 states are among the most popular for people moving to the U.S. Now let's discuss the best way to contact your state's licensing board. First, if English isn't your first language, you might want to draft your email or letter in your native language and then translate it for clarity. We can help with professional translations to make sure your message is clear. In your letter or email, include as much detail as possible to assist the licensing board. Providing your full name, contact number, mailing address, and email address will make it easier for them to reach you when they need to reply. If you prefer to call your state's Board of Accountancy by phone, keep in mind that office hours for most licensing boards are typically from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Also, don't forget that the U.S. spans several time zones, so keep that in mind when calling. If you are an accountant who is educated and trained outside the U.S., you will need a professional service to evaluate your foreign credentials. This process is required for all international candidates before they can take the national CPA exam, which we will discuss a little bit later. Credential evaluation services review the academic and professional qualifications of individuals educated outside of the U.S. They then convert these qualifications into a format recognized by the NASBA, AICPA, and state accountancy boards. The result is a detailed report that explains how your foreign coursework, degrees, and certification compare to U.S. standards, ensuring they meet the requirements for CPA eligibility. The NASBA has assembled a detailed list of foreign credential evaluators in a PDF document. As you review the list, you'll notice that certain states accept certain evaluators and reject others. These preferences differ from state to state, so paying close attention to which organization is accepted by the state where you would like to work is essential. To streamline the process, the NASBA offers its own international credential evaluation report for CPA examination and licensing, which costs $240. The service is accepted everywhere in the U.S. except Iowa and Kansas. So if you plan to practice in most states, the NASBA's service is a good option since they're already partnered with the AICPA, the organization that creates the CPA exam. Using their service can make the process smoother since the two organizations regularly work together. The NASBA's report includes details about the institutions you attended, your dates of attendance, the credentials you earned, and their U.S. equivalents. It also lists all the courses you completed for each credential submitted and compares them with the education requirements determined by your state's Board of Accountancy. If you decide to use a credential evaluation service other than the NASBA's, you should contact your state licensing board to ask which service they recommend. These services typically offer different levels of evaluation. A basic service, often called a general evaluation, usually costs between $70 and $200. A more detailed evaluation, which gathers more information, can range from $150 to $500. The processing time for credential evaluations can vary from a few days to as long as 4 weeks. However, many companies offer expedited processing for an additional fee, usually between $80 and $150. To use a credential evaluation service, you'll need to gather several important documents. These typically include your original degree, certificate, or diploma, transcripts, and mark sheets. No matter which credential evaluation service you use, your transcripts must be translated into English before you submit them. The NASBA specifically requires official transcripts and diplomas that are in English to be translated before they process your application. So let's talk about certified translations. You must understand that you can't translate your documents even if you speak English fluently. In most cases, evaluation agencies will give you various options depending on whether you'll have your documents translated in the US or abroad. So check with the evaluation agency you're using as they may have specific requirements. Some evaluation agencies may also offer translation services for an additional fee. However, since U.S. Language Services specializes in translation, our rates are typically much more competitive and can be as much as 50% less than what evaluation agencies charge. We also can send the translations directly to the agency or board in the state where you want to work. It's important to understand that certified translations do not indicate the direct correspondence between a degree obtained abroad and its equivalent in the U.S. Certified translations convert your documentation into English, which allows the evaluation agency or licensing board to review your academic and professional accreditations. Certified translations do not change the value of a mark obtained. For example, suppose you earned a 10 in an academic subject in a country where subjects are numerically evaluated from 1 to 10. In that case, your certified translation will indicate that you earned a 10, not an A+. In addition to any document required for the credential evaluation process, you may want to have your letters of recommendation or certificates of work experience translated for future job applications. You can order through our website or request a quote to obtain a certified translation from U.S. Language Services. You can also send us scans or photographs of your documents. We don't need your physical documents. The corresponding links are in the description. Now we'll discuss how to demonstrate your level of English proficiency. Being comfortable with English is key if you plan to become a CPA in the U.S. English is essential to being an accountant, from preparing detailed financial reports, discussing tax regulations with coworkers and clients. The uniform CPA exam is only administered in English, so you must be comfortable reading questions and navigating the exam's computer software. Once you're working as a CPA, English skills are just as necessary. You'll often need to explain accounting data to colleagues in professional terms. On top of that, you'll be writing emails, reviewing contracts, and preparing financial statements that use highly technical language. Beyond working, you'll also need English to maintain your license. To keep your CPA license active, you must complete continuing professional education, often in specialized areas like tax or auditing. These courses are offered in English, so strong language skills will help you keep up and meet your requirements. Passing an English language proficiency test might be wise to show employers and state boards that your English is up to the challenge. Many internationally trained CPAs take tests like the TEFL, which stands for Test of English as Foreign Language, or the IELTS, which means International English Language Testing System. These tests can prove you have the skills to succeed as a CPA in the US and may help you find employment more quickly. To become a CPA, you'll need to pass a Uniform CPA examination, also called the CPA exam. The Uniform CPA exam was developed by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or the AICPA. When most people refer to the exam, they call it the CPA exam. For a detailed review of each part of the exam, you can check out the AICPA's Uniform CPA Examination Blueprint, a free online PDF. But for now, let's go over the most essential information you need to know about the exam. Depending on where you live, 2 different methods exist to apply to take the CPA exam. In some states, candidates need to use the NASBA's online application system, while in other, candidates need to contact their Board of Accountancy directly to apply. To find out which method applies to your state, refer to the map on page 13 of the CPA Exam Candidate Guide. No matter how you apply, if your application is approved, you'll get an email letting you know that your notice to schedule, or NTS, is ready. This document includes the identification number for each exam section you've been approved to take. The email will direct you to the NASBA CPA Canada account website where you can view and print your NTS. It's a good idea to print your NTS for 2 crucial reasons. First, you can't schedule your exam without it. And second, you must have it on the exam day to take the test. While you can use an electronic version, if you arrive at the testing center and can't access it, you'll lose your exam date and forfeit your fees. So it's wise to print your NTS as a backup. The NASBA and AICPA have partnered with Prometric to administer the exam in their test centers, which are located throughout the United States. Using Prometric's ProScheduler tool, you can see the testing center nearest to your address. To schedule exam through Prometric's website, you'll enter the exam section ID number listed on your NTS and the first 4 letters of your last name. The identification number on your NTS also serves as the launch code for each exam section. You'll enter this code on the computer at the Prometric Testing Center as part of the login process. Prometric also offers a $30 service called Test Drive, which allows folks with an upcoming exam to visit the Prometric facility beforehand. During your 30-minute test drive, you'll go through the processes of presenting the proper identification and paperwork and logging into the computer to get acquainted with the overall process without taking the exam itself. The fees you'll pay to take the CPA exam depend on the state where you apply, but generally, there are 2 main fees to be aware of: the application fee and the examination fee. First, the application fee is determined by your state's Board of Accountancy. The application is used to determine your eligibility to take the exam. This is a non-refundable, one-time payment. While the amount varies by state, most states charge between $100 and $200, averaging about $140. You'll pay this fee directly to your state's Board of Accountancy. Next, you'll have to pay the CPA examination fee, which the NASBA recommends should be approximately $344.80 for each of the 4 sections. Most of the 50 state boards follow this fee, but each state accountancy board is allowed to charge a different amount. If you pass all 4 sections of the CPA exam on your first attempt, the total cost of the examination fees will be roughly $1,379.20. This amount comes from multiplying $344.80, the typical fee per section, by 4. It's important to note that these fees are non-refundable. Because of this, you should only schedule your exams when you're confident that you're ready to take them. Preparing thoroughly can help you make the most of each attempt and avoid paying for retakes. Combining the exam fee and application fees, you should expect to pay around $1,580. If you need to cancel or reschedule your exam, the timing affects the fee you'll pay. If it's between 6 and 29 days before your appointment, you'll need to pay $35 to Prometric. If it's within 5 days of your appointment, the fee increases to $84.84. To complete the exam, you must pass the core exam sections and 1 discipline section of your choice. In total, you'll have 4 exam sections to complete, and you'll have 4 hours for each separate part of the exam. Altogether, you'll be testing for 16 hours, but don't worry, you can take each exam section on a different day. You can take the 4 sections in any order you like, and you'll need to pass all 4 sections of the exam within an 18-month period. The core sections cover essential knowledge every CPA needs to protect the public interest. These 3 sections are auditing and attestation, consisting of 78 multiple choice questions and 7 task-based simulations. Financial accounting and reporting, consisting of 50 multiple choice questions and 7 task-based simulations. And taxation and regulation, consisting of 72 multiple choice questions and 8 task-based simulations. For the discipline section, you'll choose one that matches your career focus. The options are business analysis and reporting, consisting of 50 multiple choice questions and 7 task-based simulations. Information systems and controls, consisting of 82 multiple choice questions and 6 task-based simulations. Tax compliance and planning, consisting of 68 multiple choice questions and 7 task-based simulations. And to pass a section of the CPA exam, you must earn a score of at least 75. This score is determined through a process called scaled scoring, which means your score isn't just based on the percentage of questions you get right. The idea behind scaled scoring is to account for differences in difficulty between different versions of the exam. If you take an easier version of the test, for example, your score is adjusted to match the difficulty level. Similarly, if you take a more complex version, your score is adjusted to reflect that as well. This way, everyone is being measured against the same standard, no matter when or where they take the exam or how difficult it seems. If you answer 75% of the questions correctly, that doesn't automatically give you a score of 75. Instead, your score is calculated on a scale from 0 to 99 using a formula that considers whether your answers are correct and the difficulty of each question. This system ensures that scoring is accurate and fair no matter which version of the exam you take. For most sections of the exam, your score is split evenly between two parts: multiple choice questions and task-based simulations, which we mentioned earlier. Each of these contributes 50% to your total score. The only exception is the scores in the information systems and controls section, where the multiple choice questions are weighted more heavily, accounting for 60% of the score. In comparison, the task-based simulations account for the remaining 40%. CPA exam scores come out at different times throughout the year, and you can check your score on the NASBA candidate portal. You can see the AI CPA's score release date schedule on their website to know when you'll be able to see your exam results. On average, you should receive your exam scores within 1 to 3 months after you take the exam. You'll get a candidate performance report if you don't pass a section of the exam. This report gives you feedback on how you performed in different areas of that specific section, helping you focus on the areas that need improvement. Your score notice and performance report will be posted to your CPA portal within 72 hours after your score is posted. But you'll have a better chance of passing the exam if you take advantage of some resources available to test takers. The AI CPA has created some free materials that anyone planning to take the exam should review. You can start with their 2-minute video, which gives an overview of how to use the exam software, explains how to access the tools and resources, move between questions, and use the navigation features during the test. Another option is the AI CPA's free sample test, which you can try on your computer. This test includes questions from all 6 sections of the CPA exam, and you'll have up to 2 hours to complete it. While the sample test isn't scored, it does provide the correct answers for each question. It's a helpful way to familiarize yourself with the exam format and understand how the software works. Plenty of private study courses are also available for people who would like additional studying for the CPA exam. Becker is the most widely recognized provider of CPA exam preparation. They offer several packages with various materials, resources, and support. The most popular deal is the Pro package, which costs $2,279. With the Pro package, you'll get access to Becker's printed and digital textbooks, 1,250 printable flashcards, and final review capstone course, and live online classes. You'll also have access to shorter, concise, and engaging lecture videos. The package gives you access to all 3 core section courses, plus the option to choose 1 discipline section course. You'll even have the flexibility to try each discipline section for 30 days before making a final decision. For personalized guidance, you'll receive 5 coaching sessions with a Becker Success Coach to create customized study plans, along with 5 one-on-one tutoring sessions with a CPA exam expert. You'll then have access to over 7,000 multiple choice questions and more than 400 task-based simulation questions. You can challenge yourself with 8 full simulated exams and 12 exclusive mini exams, along with unlimited customizable practice tests and a mobile app for on-the-go studying. Finally, with the Pro package, you'll have unlimited access to the course until you pass the exam, which takes away the pressure. In addition to Becker, many other companies such as Glame, Surgeon, and UWorld offer similar study courses at comparable prices, but if you're looking for something more affordable, check out Ninja CPA. It's just $67 a month and a study supplement of $87 a month for full access to Ninja's comprehensive courses. The Ninja study resources include simulated exams, study notes, and digital flashcards. The Ninja book, a 572-page PDF, focuses on the essential concepts you need to know. Ninja Audio lets you study on the go, perfect for your commute. You'll also have access to a test bank with over 8,000 multiple choice questions and hundreds of simulations. On top of that, you'll get weekly online group tutoring and access to a private social network where you can talk with other candidates preparing for the exam. If you're looking for a place to connect with other candidates about CPA exam prep, the subreddit RCPA is an excellent option. With over 85,000 members, there are new posts every day, and you're likely to get a response right away. So if you need advice or have a question, this subreddit is a fast way to find support. The CPA Exam Candidates Forum is a great choice if you'd rather use a Facebook group. With over 25,000 members and posts every day, you'll probably find support or answers to your questions quickly. A nice feature of the Facebook group is that it's private, so you'll need to request to join. This helps keep the focus on the CPA exam with less unrelated conversation. Once you've passed the CPA exam, you might need to follow some extra steps depending on the state in which you want to practice. Nearly every state in the U.S. requires candidates to show proof of work experience and pass a state-specific ethics exam before receiving their license. Let's look at the requirements for 7 of the most popular states where immigrants often move. In California, you'll need to take a regulatory review course from a list approved by the California Board of Accountancy. These courses will cover state-specific rules and ethical guidelines to help you follow legal practices in California. You'll also need to complete 1 year of general accounting work experience as required by the California Board of Accountancy before applying for your license. Since the board doesn't specify how many work hours comprise 1 year, you might want to reach out to them directly by email or phone for clarification. As for Florida, you'll need 1 year of work experience verified by a licensed CPA. The work can be done over 52 to 104 weeks with at least 20 hours per week or up to 40 hours per week for a shorter period. Your supervising CPA must confirm that you've completed at least 2,000 hours of work during that time. To be licensed as a CPA in Illinois, you'll need to pass a course titled Professional Ethics, the AICPA's comprehensive course for licensure, with a score of 90%. After completing the course, you'll be required to pass an exam. Candidates also need 1 year of full-time work experience providing accounting services to become licensed in Illinois. Like California, Illinois doesn't specify a specific number of hours comprising 1 year's worth of work. Before getting licensed in Massachusetts, candidates need to complete 2,000 hours of accounting work within a time frame of no less than 1 year, but no more than 3 years. Next, you'll need to submit 3 character reference letters, each dated and addressed to the Board of Public Accountancy. To apply for a license in New Jersey, you'll need to complete 1 year of work experience totaling 1,750 hours. New Jersey also requires a 4-hour law and ethics course, which you can take up to 6 months before or after getting your CPA license. This course must be taught by an approved course provider, and luckily the New Jersey Board of Accountancy has put together a list of educators. Aspiring CPAs in New York must document 1 year of full-time work experience or the part-time equivalent before applying for a license. Full-time work is defined as a 5-day work week of at least 35 hours. Part-time work is acceptable if candidates work at least 20 hours per week, with 2 weeks of part-time work equaling 1 full-time week. Finally, in Texas, aspiring CPAs must complete 1 year of accounting work experience under the supervision of a licensed CPA. This can be done either full-time or part-time. Full-time experience is defined as 12 consecutive months of employment, while part-time experience requires a minimum of 2,000 hours worked within a maximum of 2 consecutive years. Hopeful CPAs will also need to complete a state-approved course covering ethical reasoning. The Texas State Board of Public Accountancy offers a list of approved courses. After receiving their licenses, CPAs will also need to renew them every 2 to 3 years. So let's review the CPA license renewal requirements for 7 of the most popular states among immigrants. Each state has its own rules for renewal, continuing education, and fees. Here's a quick breakdown. In California, CPA licensees must renew their license every 2 years. To do so, they must complete at least 80 hours of continuing education, and the renewal fee is $340. CPAs in Florida must renew their license every 2 years and complete 80 hours of continuing education. This includes at least 8 hours in accounting and auditing and 4 hours in ethics. The renewal fee is $105. In Illinois, CPA licenses are valid for 3 years and expire on September 30th. To renew, CPAs must complete 120 hours of continuing education, including 4 hours focused on professional ethics. The renewal fee is $120. To practice in Massachusetts, CPAs will need to renew their license every 2 years for a fee of $161. Over that period, they must complete 80 hours of continuing education with 4 hours specifically focused on professional ethics. New Jersey CPAs are required to renew their license every 3 years as outlined by the New Jersey State Board of Accountancy. During this time, they must complete 120 hours of continuing education, including a minimum of 4 hours in New Jersey law and ethics. The renewal fee in New Jersey is $135. In New York, CPAs must renew their license every 3 years for a total of $292. To renew, CPAs need to complete continuing education. If they focus on one of the recognized subject areas, which are accounting, auditing, taxation, advisory services, specialized industries, or ethics, they'll only need 24 continuing education credits. If their continuing education covers a combination of these subjects, they'll need 40 continuing education credits. Finally, in Texas, CPAs must renew their license every 3 years. They'll need to complete 120 credit hours of continuing education in total, with at least 20 hours required each year. The renewal fee is $112 each year, which adds up to $336 over the 3-year period. That wraps up our overview of the CPA licensure process in some of the most popular states among immigrants looking to work in the U.S. While each state might have a few differences in their requirements, most follow similar guidelines, so the information we've covered should give you a clear idea of what to expect no matter where you choose to practice. As you prepare for your move to the U.S., you'll notice that CPAs are in high demand, offering plenty of job opportunities and strong earning potential. Though the credentialing process may have its hurdles, it's definitely a journey worth pursuing. With your expertise, you'll have plenty of opportunities to specialize, take on leadership roles, or even teach the next generation of CPAs. When relocating to the US, one thing to remember is the need for certified translations of your important documents. You'll likely need translations for things like your transcripts, degree certificates, and any other relevant qualifications. If you have questions about how to get certified translations of your documents, check out this video. Thank you for watching. Until next time.